Welcome to the James Hush Show. At the James Hush Show, we explore the intersection of technology, art, and business to uncover new thoughts and opportunities that'll help you over there, lead a more fun and fulfilling life and career. So today we have my friend Isaac, artist
Hi.
relations, social media manager, and content creator at Strandberg Guitars. He's also guitarist for The World is Quiet Here, runs the YouTube channel Riffified, and is a freelance video editor for brands like Gear Gods, Guitar Messenger, and Spectre Sound Studios. So I've known Isaac for probably over 5 years now. We met when I was out in Los Angeles. And let's get started. So where were you originally from, and how did you end up moving to Los Angeles?
Sure. So I'm originally from Wisconsin. Went to school at UW Oshkosh, and basically I knew that I wanted to leave Wisconsin, just leave the Midwest at a certain point. I just go to like a bigger city, if anything else, like post college. And so I was kind of looking at New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles, and I have
the
like
snow. You're like, oh, do I want to live somewhere with all of the snow, or somewhere with beautiful sunshine and movie stars?
just all the time, 100%, and where Trey Xavier lives. But I had kind of the least traditional career path post college, I think. So I went to school for recording technologies, which is like just audio production essentially at UW Oshkosh. And for our senior year, we had to get an internship at like a recording studio or something, like some part of the music industry. So like doing some sort of audio related thing. So I had a background in live music. I was doing mixing and mastering for bands and stuff, and doing like live audio for local shows. And I was looking at internships just in that kind of field, and like nothing was coming up. No one like had any free internship programs. No one would help me do it for college credit. Like I just couldn't find one, and it was for like 6 months I had to find like an internship for college, and then so one day I was just on Facebook, and I was like super down at the dumps. I'm like, man, no one has any internship programs. Like what? I'm scrolling on
I'm
Facebook.
not even looking to make money. You're like,
No, I'm just
looking
like
to
I'm
work
like
for free.
free labor. Come on, like I'm like I'm not like the greatest, but I'm like really good. Like I know I'm good. Like what's going on? And I was just just doom scrolling on Facebook, just like, oh, woe is me, couldn't find anything. And an ad came up for Gear Gods, being like, hey, do you want to help out with like join the Gear Gods team? And for those of you who don't know, Gear Gods is a YouTube channel run by my buddy Trey Xavier. I was a big fan of his, like honestly, since high school, and at the time he was doing more like gear reviews and like artist interviews and talking to bands about their rigs, guitar and bass and amps and stuff, drums, kind of more tailored towards the metal crowd. And so it was like a YouTube channel I was a fan of for a long time, and I saw that there was an opening for like, it was kind of just like a general like help wanted ad. And I was like, dude, well, if I could like intern for Gear Gods, like that would be amazing. But I'm like, what are the chances? Gear Gods is probably huge. There's probably like 10 dudes in business suits around a big table, like having meetings and stuff, all corporate. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna do this. But I'm like, at this
Trey living in my house for free.
yeah. So I responded to this ad, and I'm like, hey, my name's Isaac. I'm super young and hungry, and I just need to like get an internship in the music industry. I love metal. I play guitar. Like, can I just do anything for you? And this dude Trey wrote back, and Trey was like, he was like one of my like idols. Like I watched his videos for a long time. We talked on the phone one day, and he was super nice. And I was like, oh my god, I'm talking to Trey Xavier. This dude's so sick. And he was like, yeah, like I can basically have you like write for our website and do video editing for the YouTube channel, and just like make you do a bunch of work that like he didn't want to do. And I found out later that it was like literally just him. Like he ran the whole show. He lived in a super small apartment in Glendale, California. So I started doing that remotely. I came out to LA a couple times. One for my first NAMM, I think it was 2017, 2018. That was awesome. Got to go like through Gear Gods, and then went back to LA like a few months later just to work with Trey more closely on some stuff. And this is all for college credit for my senior year. And then so once I graduated in 2017, then I was like, well, like I want to leave Wisconsin. I want to go somewhere. LA seems like as good a place as any, because like Trey's already there. I went to NAMM. It seems cool. Musicians live out there. So I was like, I'm like, okay, I gotta find a way to get out there. How am I gonna do that? I don't have a job. I'm just interning still for free. I never stopped interning, so I was still like a free intern even after college. And it turns out Trey was looking to move into a new spot and wanted to get a roommate, and so we just kind of coordinated it, and he found this place out here, and we moved in together, and we've been roommates for, this is our 4th year now that we were going on. It was 4 years last August. So I moved in with my boss, and we it's like, it was crazy, and it's been awesome ever since. But I mean, I'm not an intern for Gear Guides anymore. That probably lasted another 2 years. Or it lasted 1 year after that, and then I was actually able to like make it part of my job. But that's how I ended up moving out here. So I moved in with this guy that I didn't really know, but I had a good feeling about. He was always really cool to me, great to work with, and the rest is kind of history. So that's kind of how I ended up out here.
Usually when you move in with strange men from Los Angeles, it's always a horror story. But luckily we were both fine on that front, because when I did something similar. I moved to LA. I joined a startup, and I moved in with my boss, and we were both 23, 24 at the time, and we were sharing a bedroom. Because I was like, man, I just want to get out of Windsor. I'm like, I don't like whatever. Yep. I'm like, whatever it takes. I'm like, whatever. Like, as long as you guys can like sign this piece of paper to get me a visa to come across to the States, I'm like, I'm down. I'm like, I've already failed the Google and Facebook interviews, so like, I'm not.
What else are you gonna do? I
what else
had that background, Jamie. That's awesome, man. That's like, it's worth a shot, because like at the very least, you can always move back home. Like it's you have to do it. You got to give it a shot, you know?
Yeah, like
just
that's the thing that confused me. It's because, especially if you're like 22, 21, like,
oh yeah,
dude, like
you're
you don't
baby.
have any. You can do whatever you want. I mean, you can always do whatever you want. You just have to deal with the consequences. But the nice thing about when you're like in your early 20s and you have no money, is like, what's going to happen? You're going to have no money. You already have no money.
And I will say, it's funny. I gave a talk to my class like a couple weeks ago, my first like recording industry class. And I was basically like doing this kind of thing, like telling them my life story, like talking about everything post college, and it came down to me, because like when I moved out to LA, I didn't have a job lined up. I just knew this guy Trey, and I had enough confidence to know that I could make it work, whatever the case. I had like a little bit of savings, like a couple $1,000s, like nothing like enough for like a month's rent in LA, like max. So I moved out to LA, like the most expensive city in America, with no job, with a random dude, and was just like, and just a little dream in my heart, a little song in my step. And so I was telling this class, I'm like, this worked out for me, like, because I think I like was really hungry, and I like knew I could make it work. But a lot of people like don't really have that drive, and like they kind of expect things to get handed to them on a certain level. And so I'm like, be careful about your career post-college, like, because my situation on paper looked like a terrible decision, like moving to the most expensive city with no job.
Well, it depends, too. Like, you moved into a place that was, like, pretty cheap rent. Let's be real. Like, the Gear Gods Mansion.
Yeah, cheap for Glendale, yeah.
Yeah, the Gear Gods Mansion, even though it's called the Gear Gods Mansion, is not actually a mansion.
It's a shack, mostly.
It's a shack, and the fancy studio Trey has is a barn, and everyone's having a good time there. But, yeah, like, I think, first of all, 90% of people don't actually move. And so there's a hard filter there. And the nice thing about cities like LA, New York, Hong Kong, London, is if you pass that hard filter, you still have a chance. And everyone I met in LA, maybe I'm biased too, but the ones I met in LA, usually if they have to make it on their own, and they know they're not getting like a trust fund check every month, and they know like they could move back to Wisconsin, but if they did, they feel kind of embarrassed. They usually figure it out. Like yeah,
100%.
Because you're like, you could move back to your parents in Wisconsin, but the whole time you're probably thinking like, nah, man.
That's the last thing I want. Yeah, and like I feel like so many kids are just afraid to try, and maybe they were just, especially coming from like a small town, like, which I mean, LA is a melting pot. Like everyone who lives here. The majority of people who live here are from small towns, but you're used to a sense of like stability and comfort and like cheap living and like just where things are easy. And so people don't want to leave that. They don't want to leave the warm, fuzzy womb of where they grew up and what they know and what they're familiar with. And so it takes guts to just move to a new city. But I think the thing that people don't realize is that like you can do it. Like you're not the thing. One of the things that, and we can get into this later too, but like one of the things that really gave me comfort when I would because I moved here, it didn't really hit me until like a week later that I actually like moved across the country, and I had had that. I think everyone has a different level of like existential crisis about it. And there was like I was like in the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I'm like, dude, what the hell did you do? Like, what are you doing? And but the thing that gave me comfort is reminding myself that I'm not the first person to move to Los Angeles. Like,
You're not the first broke person with a dream to move to Los Angeles,
dude. And like,
you're not the last one either.
100%. And like, just knowing that, I'm like, dude, like, if anyone else can do it, I can do it. And it's like a small thing, but like, you are way more capable than you think you are. And I think people they don't want to be put in an uncomfortable situation, so they just stick with what they know. And that's cool if that makes you happy, but people end up just staying miserable because that's what their parents want, it's what their friends want, it's like what they know. It's like, dude, like, don't you want to just try going somewhere else? Like, I think it's worth it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is you start meeting the people who you think like made it, right? And then you talk to them for like 20 minutes. You're like, yo, like, not only are they not smarter than me, but I'm pretty sure they're a bit dumber than me.
Yeah, they're just people. Turns out they're just literally just humans, just like you.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
And I've noticed that there's a big mind like for me when you said like after a couple of weeks in LA, you looked in the mirror like, what did I do? I had that feeling the moment I got off the plane in Taiwan and I couldn't read anything. And then I'm like, ooh,
it was real.
Let's go.
Let's go. That's the moment.
I can't read anymore. Ooh, I didn't know how much I read things.
Yeah, right. But look at you now. You figured it out, dude.
I can kind of read. I can read at like I'm like a really stupid first grader.
Same. That's just me in English.
Yeah. So that's funny on that side.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say. So you're in LA. You're like, I'm not going back to Wisconsin. Winter's already in Wisconsin. Like, I got to stay here for another 6 months to get out of that anyway. Mm-hmm. And so you found Gear Gods through that one Facebook ad. Then how did you go about? You're in LA. How did you go about making money then? Because you're at that point you're doing some Gear Gods stuff for free. Like, what was your first like gig to give you some cash to pay for food and rent?
For sure. So it was funny. I had the struggle to find an internship, and then when I moved to LA, I had the struggle to find like a paying job, and so it was just one of these things where I was just like every day just going on every job application website you can imagine, and just at first trying to find things in the music industry. So like, again, my background was like in primarily live music, so it was like audio engineering, live music, event production, that kind of stuff, which I was not passionate about at all, but I knew it. Like, I knew how to run mixers and stuff and consoles. And nothing was coming through. Dipped my toes a little bit into like video and like social media for like a hospital and like a couple of different non-music things. Nothing worked out. And then one day, my amazing grandmother, my Nana, she emails me and she's like, "Oh, Isaac, I have a friend in LA. She's a producer on a TV show. Maybe she could like talk to you." And it was very much like kind of just blind grandmother support, where it's like, I have a friend, they might help you. I hope you're doing all right in the big city, my little
Don't
boy.
die.
Don't die. And I was like, all right. And by that point, again, I was so desperate for anything. And luckily, like, I just ran through pretty much all my savings at that point. So I was dying for any kind of job. And so I emailed this producer friend of my grandmother, Maria Grasso, who was a producer on the show called Dietland, which was a new Netflix show. And it turns out she was looking for a PA, for a production assistant for this Netflix show. So I went down to West Hollywood and interviewed, and she was super sweet, really nice. And they hired me to be basically like do everything from coffee orders to just running various errands and stuff for this writer's room for this TV show. And did that for about 4 months while the show was being written, and it was like Hollywood, baby. Like, I'm seeing how like a TV show for Netflix is getting made. I'm back to square one. I'm getting coffee. Like, it was great. I loved it. I had really great people to work with for the first 4 months. Really pretty, like, honestly pretty easy job. Like, got to run around and a little stressful, but like they made it really easy. It was a really great situation. And then I'm learning about how a TV show gets made this whole time. So, after a certain period of when a show's getting written, then it goes into the actual production and like shooting and editing of the show. So once those first, 4 or 5 months were up in the writer's room, then they're going to go into actually producing it. And so they needed a new PA to move over to their like production offices, which was pretty close by in Hollywood. So I said yes and went on to do that. And that probably lasted a year. And that job was a lot harder and I made a lot less money because I remember when I was in that transition of the first kind of phase of that job ending and then the new phase of it starting, I got a call from the executive producer, for this next phase. And she was like, hey, she was really nice. She called me and she was like, hey, so we know you've been to PA for the show for a little bit. You're doing a really good job. She's like, I don't know whose fault this is. I don't know who messed up, but you're actually the highest paid PA in Hollywood right now. Like you've been making the most money out of any PA.
And like, wait, what, really? You're like, really?
I don't know. And I was like, I was making like okay money, like definitely the most money I ever made, post college, but still like.
If you played that, definitely the most money I ever made post college game when you're 21 years old, though.
Dude, exactly.
It's
yeah,
an easy game to win.
Yeah, I'm like, I can pay rent. I can go to the grocery store once a week. I'm rich, dude. Like, I don't care. But she was like, so we can't match that. We can't, like, someone messed up somewhere. You're not supposed to be making as much as you are. We need to. It's going to be a lot more hours and less money. Like, are you still okay with that? And I'm like, yeah. Like, I literally have to. Like, I don't have a choice. So I did that for a year. So I was basically a PA for like a year and a half, 2 years, in tandem with Gear Gods, which eventually I was able to start getting paid for that, like on a freelance basis. And then through that and just being involved in honestly, like, production. And, the second half of this PA gig was I was working pretty closely around video editors, like for like the actual show. So I was seeing how like shows get edited, and all the editors on that show were super sweet, all really cool to me, like really good people. And so I kind of saw that world. And so I started editing for Trey more often for money, for getting paid in U.S. currency. Started editing for my buddy Glenn, Spectre Sound Studios, like a bunch of YouTube guys, music guys. And that was kind of my side hustle. And in between the two worlds, I was able to kind of like really not die.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is, "You can't be broke and busy." I heard it from this YouTuber. His name's Alex Hermosi. I've been watching all his videos. Great entrepreneur guy. And he's like, you don't have money? He's like, deliver pizzas.
Literally. Yeah, use your time.
Uber. Yeah.
Yep.
Just go deliver Uber Eats. You're like, oh.
Yeah. And that's like, the thing, man. I think people like they value their free time too much, and it's like cool, like you can have free time, but you won't have as much money and like have other opportunities that come from like working hard and just get to work. Like, there are opportunities. Like, you just have to look for them.
It's like you're 22. Like, shut up. Like, you have no skills. You're not even a person yet.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're still a baby. I'm 28. I still feel like a baby. Like, yeah. But I mean, dude, like especially when you're that young, and I feel like I think the thing where people get caught is they leave college and they're like, cool, I'm supposed to go somewhere, I'm supposed to get my big boy job, and they feel a certain level of like, oh, I worked. They're like, I worked this hard to get this degree. Now I got to use it. They don't want to feel like they're going backwards,
Literally delivering coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I was a PA. Like I delivered checks, like got coffee runs, got groceries for like just like the grunt work that everyone else didn't want to do. But like that role I knew was important for everyone else to do their job effectively, and I was treated with respect, and I got paid money in money. So like you can't have an ego about it. You just got to get to work. And like eventually, I was able to land my job now, and obviously we'll get to that in a second. But like don't have an ego about it. Just like do what you got to do and like be a good person. And I think that's what creates long-term opportunities. Yeah.
And I like what you said. The way you got that original PA job was just through a connection through your grandmother.
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of like people who are trying to become software engineers, like get into their first junior software engineer job. And everyone hears like, oh, there's a shortage of engineers. There actually isn't. There's a shortage of engineers with experience who are competent and friendly. And so when they get out of this like coding boot camp, they'll be like, I'll apply to all these jobs, and they're getting no callbacks. And they're like, oh, what's going on? And I was telling them the same thing of advice. I was like, reach out to like your grandmother's hairdresser. Reach out to somebody,
dude,
like anybody who knows somebody who does any sort of job that is remotely program related. I'm like, pro tip, it probably won't be at Google. It'll probably be at a crappy agency whose entire business model hinges on hiring cheap labor, and that's okay. You get to be cheap labor. What you bring to the table is you're cheap, and you'll do bad work with a smile on your face. And that, if you have those like two skills, if you are cheap and you're willing to do annoying work with a smile on your face, that is the only skill you bring to the table. Because like just kind of knowing how to spell PHP doesn't get you that you that far.
No, and people are, especially being like a good person to work around, and I mean this is super true in the music industry. Like it's all It's all just how you treat people. Like you're a walking billboard for your brand essentially. So like if you know a lot in terms of like coding and that kind of stuff, but you're like not a nice person to be around, no one's gonna want to be around you. Or maybe you'll get the job based on those qualifications, but you're not gonna last long. Like no one wants to be around that. And it's funny, like my kind of version of that sentiment is like I kept telling myself this only has to work once. I only need one job. I just keep hitting that go button until I get a job, and then that's it. I just need one yes, that's it. And like people are always like, no one wants to hire me. It's like, oh, you literally just need one yes. Like, just keep going. Yeah. Just keep hitting that go button.
It's just like getting a girlfriend. It only has to work once. You don't need to
has to work once. You just need one job. And if once you get that one job, then other jobs become easier because now you've kind of gotten your foot in the door and you can kind of like work your way in like in a direction that you want to go. But you need just get a job. That's it.
Yeah. I'm in a weird place right now because I'm trying to switch. I was on this perfectly straight path, and I got all the way up to upper management, and then I got there. I was like, oh man, really? I'm like, this is it? Hey. Oh no! And so now I'm trying to switch a bit, and I think my new pivot is instead of trying to help like bigger tech companies or just tech companies in general, I'm pivoting to targeting YouTubers with over 100,000 subscribers who need software projects. I'm like. It took a little bit of while to think about it because at first I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do YouTube stuff. I've been trying to do that on and off for a year. I'm like, yo, this is a grind. This is such a grind. It's funny too because we both help YouTubers. Actually, there's going to be a new video that I'm going to get you to edit in like a month or so.
Oh man,
listen to this concept. So I've been learning Chinese. Starting today, I'm getting my Chinese teacher to translate my 5 minutes of English stand-up comedy. And I'm documenting the whole process because then the video ends with me doing a 5-minute open mic in Chinese in front of like 40 people.
Cool, man. So it's like a mini documentary, like seeing the process.
We'll do it like Mr. Beast. Well, I'll have you edit it the same way as Mr. Beast. Like we're just gonna copy all his editing tricks. So the first 7 seconds is gonna have like 32 cuts. And just text all over the thing, and I'm just gonna I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna do what I did last time, which write it all down, like where all the cuts are, and then have you like just over the top
assemble it,
over the top, like edit it because it's gonna like the hook will be like, oh, is he going to bomb or not? Because there's a good chance I'm gonna bomb. There's like a 70% chance I'm going to bomb because I have some of my English-speaking comedian friends who also have been trying to the Chinese nights, and they're like, yeah, we've all bombed like the first night.
Really?
First time we did that, yeah.
I mean, hey, even if you bomb, it's gonna be good content.
Dude,
it'll be fun
if
to
you
watch.
bomb, that's the thing. If I bomb, it's good content still. Because then at the end, then at the end, because because it's gonna be like, here's the process of me, like learning how to say this in Chinese kind of thing. And then it tease until you see like the 4-minute stand up near the end. And then the last 2 minutes are going to be like what I learned and then call to action to book my services. So it's going to be,
you have it all laid out.
I got it laid out. And that's the thing is I make it really clear at the beginning of the video that the stakes are really high, that there's a good chance
you said that
expectation.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, ooh, let's watch. So
It's got to start with a cut of a joke bombing that like you give, and like that's the start of it with like some like it's a black and white really sad music behind it. It's like, oh no, what did I do? And then it cuts to like 5 a.m. Monday morning. It's like just getting started, and then that's where the story begins.
Yes, yeah. There's gonna be
a story.
I'm gonna rope you into that because there's like I said, there's gonna be. It's gonna be like 32 cuts in the first 10 seconds. Like there's gonna
Sick. I love it. I'm
gonna do exactly what Mr. Beast does. Have you followed Mr. Beast at all?
A bit. I've seen some of his videos. Just like they're insane.
You gotta listen to him on the
He's clearly doing pretty well.
You gotta listen to him. He's Prince Money. You gotta listen to him on the Call Him Samir podcast because he breaks down all his like strategies, and he's like number one. They ask him all these questions, and he keeps responding with, "Honestly, guys, the only thing I care about is making the best YouTube videos in the world." He's like, "I don't care about money.
I've heard
I don't care about fame.
Yeah.
I don't care about anything." He's like, "If all you do is focus on making the best YouTube videos in the world, and thumbnails," he's like, "and thumbnails." Those are the two things. The thumbnails is I'm getting a little bit better at those, but
yeah, you are, man. I've noticed. Like, that's the first thing people see. You got to nail the thumbnail.
Yeah. What I did was I hired an actual real photographer, and then I hired an actual real graphic designer, and then I used the graphic designer's templates with the photographer's photos.
Right on. Yeah.
We assembled a graphic. I'm not a graphic designer, I'm a graphic assembler. And then
I love it.
we just go there. So you're going from so you got the job, good old fashioned nepotism through your grandma.
Well,
you're
not
working
really
way up-
nepotism, but you know,
I know.
grandma hooked up.
And then you're working your way up through there. So were you just like working so many hours that when Trey was asking you to do free editing, you had to just say like, "Hey man, I need to get paid"? Was that how you kind of transitioned to a paid role at Gear Gods, or how did that kind of transition happen?
Sure. So yeah, essentially, you know, I learned that with working for TV shows, and honestly, just like any sort of, you know, show or movie like in Hollywood, there's this kind of, you know, there's this lifespan of when it's actually made behind the scenes, but then you know, when it's released, the project is over, and then so the editors find new gigs to edit, the you know, production coordinators find new shows to coordinate. Like everyone just kind of goes on to the next project. I mean, you know, it's Hollywood. It's like the actors find new gigs to act in, and so after like, you know, probably ultimately like 2 years of the PA thing, like the show was done. It's called Dietland. It's on Netflix. It was done. It was ready to go, and so I knew that like I needed to find like a new job. And so at that time, Gear Gods was part of the Blast Beat Network, which is like a bigger organization of Metal Sucks, Metal Injection, some bigger companies. So they actually were kind of the ones like above both Trey and I. And you know, Trey and I both knew that I was gonna all of a sudden have all this free time, and I loved doing Gear Gods. I loved doing freelance stuff on the side. So we kind of together like put together a pitch for me to see if they would hire me full time, like as like senior editor was like my title, doing just everything that Trey didn't want to do, essentially, doing website stuff, writing articles, assigning stuff to our intern team. We had like a team of like writers who were interns. Doing the video editing, that was kind of the biggest thing, is just doing the edits for YouTube, just helping him on shoots, like going out everywhere. And so put together this pitch for basically as much as you would make working at McDonald's. But I'm like, this is what I and it's still at that time, even after, you know, 2 years of doing the PA thing, like I was still super hungry. I was still like, I've never really cared about money. I want to be happy, and I wanted to just be in a creative space, like as a creative person, as a musician. So I really didn't like, as long as I had enough money to not die and just enough to survive. Like that was kind of the goal. So put together a little proposal for him, and just pitched it as hard as I could, and they accepted, and they hired me to be full-time like editor, senior editor and writer and stuff. And so that was kind of how that gig started. So then I was able to do Gear Gods full-time, making even less than I've ever made, but I was so much happier. I was just like doing what I wanted to do, working with amazing people, meeting my favorite bands, going to NAMM.
That was the best perk of being friends with Trey. Me living in LA was just like, the single best perk was Trivium came to town. Trivium's my favorite band.
So sick.
I love Matt Heafy. I love that band. Everything, like, they're basically the reason I moved to LA, because they're the reason I learned how to play guitar. Like, without them, I'd just moved to San Francisco and been like a programmer bro and probably be richer, but like it wouldn't matter.
Miserable.
I'd have a existential crisis at some point. But I remember they came to town, and this is when Jared Dines was playing guitar for them, because Matt Heafy, he had to go back home because his wife gave birth. And I was like backstage with the Trivium guys, Jason Richardson, the singer from Killswitch Engage, Howard Jones, because Light the Torch was playing. And then the singer from Atreyu, the drummer from Atreyu, was backstage too, because he was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna surprise." I was like, "I'm gonna do a Trivium song today," but like I was thinking to myself, 16-year-old Jamie Hush would be so proud of himself right now. I was too afraid to like talk to anyone, but I was talking to Jason Richardson because I didn't realize it was Jason Richardson until like 20 minutes into the conversation. But I was like too afraid to really talk to anyone. But I was just like, okay,
you're there, dude. That's the thing, is like I that feeling of like being like, holy shit, like viewing your current self through a younger version of you. I never want to lose that feeling. Like I'm a fan. I'm just like a fan till I die. That's like kind of the driving force for me, is like I see people who like get jaded and they just get used to like working with their idols and working in the industry. And like I never want to lose that, man. Like I get to work with I've met my favorite band multiple times. They know me. They know Riffified. Like it's
Between the Bear to Me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
The drummer, like I went to a show of theirs a few months ago, and I did like the VIP package, and part of that is like going early and doing a Q&A session with the band, and everyone's masked. I was just wearing like black, like super nondescript clothing, and I went up to go.
You remembered your uniform. You remembered the black T-shirt.
Yeah, man. Gotta stay on brand. Be a black uniform.
You got a black
hat.
T-shirt.
Yeah, man. Yeah, just like that. And as I walked up to go ask the question, mask on, like the only defining features are like I'm a white dude with glasses and a hat. The drummer was like, "Oh, what's up, Isaac?" Like as I'm like walking up, and I'm like, "What's up, Blake Richardson?" Like, and they're the nicest, sweetest dudes. They know me, and like we talk and stuff. But like, and I've had that with like probably hundreds of people at this point, my idols, all because I just like show up and I think I'm like a pretty nice person to be around, and I like do what I say I'm gonna do, and yeah, man, it's like that is one time like Tosin said I could shred and like fist bump me, and that's keeping me going still. Like it's like, dude, yeah. What kind of sidebar, just like we're just telling kind of crazy rock star stories. So I worked. One of the other side gigs that I do is I work for Guitar Messenger, running our social media and stuff. And Ivan Chopik, the main guy behind that, like we've done shoots together. He'll bring me on to do video shoots for bands and playthroughs and stuff, and I'll edit stuff after the fact. And Ivan is a part of Abasi Concepts, who I did the social media stuff for a while. And I remember I was like, I was on a shoot, and I got to meet Tosin for the first time. We were shooting the demo kind of like playthrough video for the Pathos pedal from Abasi, and got to it was like literally it was Ivan, me, and Tosin Abasi, and Ivan had to go do something, like had to go get something from the car, so just me and friggin' Tosin Abasi were sitting across from each other like 10 feet away. He's just thumping, like practicing the part, and I'm just like, and I was like, this is when I first moved, like I was super young, so I was just like, like. A nice guitar, man. Like I just didn't know what to say. I was like totally like I just same as you. Like I had no clue what to say, and that wasn't the first time I talked to him. But over the years through NAMM and through other shoots, like we became like friends, I'd say. And dude, like I on my birthday, I think a year ago now, Tosin shows up to my house with a bottle of champagne and a signed Pathos pedal for me. It says "Stay Riffified" from Ivan and Tosin, because at that point, we can talk about this in a second, like I was transitioning from the Abasi Concepts, Guitar Messenger, Gear God stuff to my current job with Strandberg Guitars, which I have back here in poster. So that was kind of like my send off from hand delivered champagne from Tosin came to our house, and it's like we're homies. Like I talked to him like regularly. It's insane.
Yeah.
And dude, so that stuff is possible. Like if you just like, I don't know, dude, like follow your dreams. Like go to where things are happening. I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but like, I just really believe in like, just trust your gut. Ask yourself why you're making certain life decisions. Follow through with them. Be nice to people. Be nice to every single person, and just like, I don't know, just show up. Just do what you say you're gonna do, and that's the
big one.
Dude, just show up. It's like, it's because this is coming from someone who is extremely introverted. I mean, I'm definitely the most extroverted I've ever been because I've worked on it. But like deep down, like I want to be alone. I do not want to talk to people like ever. Like I'm good.
You don't get that good at progressive death metal on guitar by like going out all the time.
You gotta sit in your house and just have a bunch of guitars and be alone. But dude, like this is coming from someone who like is not an extrovert. And now I run artist relations for a guitar company. Like my job is to talk to people. Like that is my job. And it's possible, like, and it's happened for me because I just like I do enjoy talking to people, and especially like in a field that I care about, on a topic that I can talk about.
The people you're talking to, artist relations for Strandberg Guitars, are like probably the most introverted, like the most opposite of a rock star guitar player. They're all sitting at home in the corner.
Yeah, and no one's got an ego. Everyone's super cool. Everyone's super chill. Like they're just like friends, and that's one thing I have to remind myself too, is like I idolize a lot of these people, but like they are people. They're people just like us who are on their own kind of paths, they're on their own journey, and so that helps me kind of like talk to them without totally just like losing my mind and like drooling and being like, oh my god, you're Pliny. It's like Pliny's a dude. We just talk and make stuff happen. Like so Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent there, but like I really, yeah, it's possible.
No, that makes a lot of sense because I've been doing stand-up comedy here in Taipei for the last probably 4 or 5 months.
Sick, dude. I want to hear some jokes from you, man. If you have English versions,
I only have English versions right now because Chinese is hard. Ooh, unsurprisingly. But I've been doing it here, and there's like 3 or 4 like real excellent guys here, and like I'm just like, oh, it's like the same. Just like when I met Trey, like I'm like, oh, I know he's gonna be successful. And when Glenn started getting traction on YouTube after his like 4th video, which Glenn started getting traction after 4 YouTube videos, that was like unfair.
Yeah. I know, man.
Yeah, that was a little bit unfair, but like he had a good first. But like I remember he started getting like, I think his like first video got over a couple thousand views, and me and Matt Diamante, this is one to Glenn's like, dude, you got to triple down on this. Like at the time, Matt Diamante was trying to do YouTube, and like he had done like 15 videos, and they're pretty good production too, and like not that much traction. And so Matt saw Glenn get traction, and he's like, dude, he's like, you got to double down on this. He's like, I'm not even jealous. He's like, something's going on here. He's like, you got to double down this. And I could, and the same when I met you, I could tell the same thing. I could be like, oh yeah, this guy's ready to show up and do work. So that helps a lot on that 100%. Side. And I'm realizing too, like the trust your gut is a big one as well. Because I finished an interview the other day, and it was for another like engineer manager position. And I was just thinking like, I don't want to do this.
As you're doing it, that's good. Like, that's good. That's a good feeling to recognize.
But it's tricky when you're on the engineering side, because like I'm looking at, because this company's probably going to go public in like 5 years. And I'm like kind of doing the napkin math on the money. I'm like 95% sure like they're going to do extremely well, like money wise. Yeah. But I'm like, do I want to do this for like 5-7 years, wait for that to like materialize, or do I want to just focus on like doing stuff with entertainers, which is what I really like doing. So that's why I'm trying to focus more on like, because I'm helping right now I'm helping Alex with some software stuff. I can't say what the software is, but it's pretty dope. And it's like, this is a good combo, because what I didn't like was working with like trying to have to convince 30 engineers to do something, which I can do. I know how to do it, but it's like being really good at doing the dishes, right? Just because you're really good at something doesn't mean you want to do it over and over again. And now I can just kind of like, when I help non-technical people, their expectations are like here, right?
Yeah, and they want the help. They like want to be told like what's the best way to do a thing.
Yeah. They're like, the website doesn't work, and then I go, and then I can fix it in a half an hour, and they're like, whoa!
Oh, you're a magic man.
Oh, magic computer man, save us,
dude. Same thing with that. Was, I mean, this is a big part too of like, I think focusing on what you're good at, but also focusing on what you like doing. I mean, that's kind of like the magic combo. Is like, I started, I went to school for like music and like audio, didn't have any background in video, which is like where my career eventually came, because I started doing so much video work for Gear Gods. I took one video editing class in college. It was just like basic, like how to like edit stuff together in Premiere Pro. I made like YouTube videos like when I was in high school with some buddies, but like I had no background in it, but I just kept doing it, and I liked it. And I'm a goofball, dude. I just like making goofy videos. So like I had a knack for making like memey, dumb videos, lots of cuts, lots of gags. Like I just because that's just my personality. And so I did it enough to where I actually realized that I knew more about video editing than like most regular people, and I like doing it. So then people would be like, "Hey, do you like edit like playthroughs for bands?" And be like a small band or whatever.
Like, yes.
Yeah, dude, like for sure, hit me up. And then I edit the most boring video together, just like 2 angles cut back and forth, like mixed, color graded, like just cover all the basics. And my clients are like, they're like, wow, this guy's so good. And I was like, okay, and like you just keep doing that enough, and that's how you just get better, and you kind of start raising your standards as you get better, like in your craft, and then you have the power to be like, to say no to stuff, because you're at a certain level, and that's kind of where the fun starts, I feel like.
Yeah, once you have some money saved up, and when I say some money, I mean literally some, just like more than zero.
Yeah.
Just then you can be like, then you can start saying things like, you know what? I don't want to deliver coffee for $2 above minimum wage anymore. Like
Yeah,
I'm too busy
dude.
with all this editing work that pays me $1 less than minimum wage when I do my hours. But next client, I'll charge more. For
Yep.
the on the editing side, uh, have you ever had to like set like how do you set like realistic expectations with clients? Because I know a lot of people have these weird expectations. Have you ever had to run into that, and how do you set expectations that way?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like I've probably had been pretty lucky. Um, I I've had I've had one client who was kind of a pain. They paid me really well, but they were a pain. And I think that's kind of I think they knew that they were a pain, so they kind of
Just pay
compensated for
more.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm pretty. I go into everything. I go into everything, Jamie. This is kind of my life secret. I go into everything, every situation with zero expectations. I have no expectations for anything ever, and that is like the recipe for success. Because if when
That's
anything
key.
positive happens, I'm stoked, and so I'll go into every possible video gig, and especially like when you're a freelancer, you take on every job. Especially when you're just starting out, you're super hungry. You take on every possible gig. Even with those gigs, like buddy would hit me up and be like, "Hey man, can you edit this like drum playthrough together?" And I'll go, "Okay." And before I get excited about it, before I let myself have any expectations, I just go, "Okay, here's my rate. Here's how long it'll take. Here's what I can do. Here's my portfolio." And I put everything out on the table first. Because I want to set those expectations. Because I think people get, especially with the music industry where it's all homies, it's all friends ears. Like things can get muddy, and you want to do something fun for your friend, and you want to build your portfolio, but like you also have to get paid. So you can't say yes to everything, and you can't give everyone the homie discount. So I'm just super transparent with everything, and if it doesn't work out, then that's it. Then that's fine. I'm never bummed about it not working out because it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, when you say the homie discount, the trick I do, I learned this a while ago. It's I have two rates. I have full rate, not cheap, full rate, or free. So the homie, if you're my homie, it's free. You get 100% discount. But
Wow.
and the reason I do that though is you can't complain if it's 100% free. I mean,
Right.
theoretically you can. Theoretically, you can. You should, but if somebody does complain and do it for free, then okay, obviously we're not actually homies.
They didn't deserve it in the first place. Yeah.
That's fine. And so the nice thing about that is then I can be like, yeah, I'll help you out for free for the next like couple hours. Like I'll just jump on a call and help for free.
Yeah.
And then usually, especially for coding, when I'm on the phone call with the person and we're both looking at the code together and they barely know what's going on, and I kind of go through, and it's like when you go to a mechanic and the mechanic's like, look, they open up the hood, it's everything, it's on fire, your
Yeah.
everything on the inside is on fire, we need to replace the whole car, kind of thing. If you see it physically on fire, you're like, oh well, okay, cool. And it's the same thing with when I do it for free with some buddies and we kind of go through together and they see how much of a mess something is, and then I'm like, look, you're my homie, I love you, I want to work with you. There's only 24 hours in a day. I'm sleeping 8 of them. I'm like,
Yep.
I want to help, but in order to help, you got to pay X amount of dollars.
Yeah,
And
and,
they're like-
and going through it with them, so you can like
Yeah.
show them why your services are valuable. Yeah, that's
And
great.
sometimes they're like, you know what? This website is kind
Not
of
worth
crappy
it.
anyway. We're not worth it. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's kind of crappy too. So it's fine. I'm like, let's just.
Yep.
There'd be less wars in the world if more people just gave up, and it's okay. It's okay to just give up.
Not a fight worth fighting.
But then a lot of the times they're just like, okay, cool, I'll figure out how to get like the budget, because like at the end of the day, usually if they're coming to me, they've already talked to like one or two other engineers, or this is really common. A lot of software engineers, I think a lot of editors do this too. People in general, a lot of people just like ghost. Like they'll finish half a
Yes.
project and disappear.
Yes.
And so if you can be the person who consistently fixed half-finished messes, you will always have employment for your life. Have you ever run into that where someone just like disappeared and then they called up Isaac?
I don't think I've actually had that experience because, one, again, like I really trust my gut when I get into serious talks with people. So if I feel like someone is just not responding to like our general messages, like even just casual talks, if they're kind of flaky on that front, that's kind of a red flag to me. Just if you can't have like just a regular conversation, or you're always busy or whatever, like that's kind of my first thought of like okay, maybe this is not totally gonna work out in the end. But then also, I'll usually, doesn't happen always, but if I'm a little hesitant about jumping on a project, we'll do like half after the deliverables are delivered. So that way they have some investment early on, so that I can't just do a bunch of work and then say, okay, here it is, and then they just never respond. So I try to, like, with everything, I try to put things in place first to make my life as easy as possible. That's like a really big thing, because I just don't want to waste energy. I just don't want to waste my time on things that just won't turn out, so.
Yeah, I've done that too, where like I'll pay a little bit up front just to like make sure that their credit card works, right? Make sure that their PayPal account works.
They have
right
money
there.
in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's some, and then they're invested, and then they'll see it through, and then I'll do deals like that too, where it's a little bit different on the software front because a lot more can go wrong. Like you can't.
I could imagine.
Yeah, you can't. There's no excuse if you don't deliver on time for video edit. Like you can. The nice thing about video editing is, if you're running a bit late, you can usually deliver on time if you just don't sleep the night before.
There's a grind period. Yeah, and plus, like, it's for me, it's like it's usually with bands and like artists and gear people. So it's like they're usually super chill. Like yeah. And I've had a couple instances where I just physically could not get to a project until the very last minute, and I'm a big, like, I do a thing a week in advance and just like leave it there. I want to make future Isaac's life easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just like it's, if I can avoid it, I try it, but. Yeah.
That's what I do with the podcast too. I always have them a couple weeks in advance, except for this one. Woohoo! This one probably going to be out on Friday. Not Sick. Because I had to the other one that's coming out has to come out during my friend's like book launch, and so I'm like, oops, and because I looked at the calendar, I have like a little release calendar, and like, wait, I thought I was a week ahead.
Gotta find someone.
No
Isaac.
Isaac, quick. We're gonna talk to you about something. Speaking of being organized, how do you kind of keep yourself organized for this stuff?
Like just like projects.
Yeah, how do you keep? Because you'll be juggling a couple clients at the same time, or you'll be juggling, like, you have to do a few different things, like on the artist relation side. How do you keep that all organized?
Poorly. No, I'm a big list guy. And this is a thing that you and I have talked about. My life is lists. I make a list, and then I do the things on the list, and then those things get done because I made a list. So like I just like have a daily schedule. I have I know when I'm personally in the right mindset to do certain things. So like I'm a morning person, so I've been starting to begin my day. So just everyone knows, like I run social media and artist relations for Strandberg Guitars. So I still do freelance editing on the side, but like that's my actual like job. It's like I'm not freelance anymore, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I have health insurance. But
I have health insurance too. Oh wait, it's because I'm in a first world country.
I envy you, Jamie. I envy that, man. But my job is remote, which is awesome. So I get to kind of make my own schedule. So for me, like I know that I'm much more of a morning person than a night owl. So I will get up really early, start my day earlier when I'm feeling better, and then I'll actually like end my day earlier, and just try to catch stuff earlier. And our company is also based in Sweden, so the time difference is like it's better for me and for them if I'm up earlier. What time are you getting up for Sweden? Because that's an 8 hours time zone difference, right? Yeah, I think 8 or 9 hour difference. I start work at 7 a.m. I try to most days. And then I'm done. Whatever.
So that way you can talk to them from 3 o'clock in their time to like 6 their time, kind of thing.
Exactly. Because for a lot of the time I would. For the longest time, I'm going to stick to a 9 to 5 because I'm also like kind of a workaholic. So when I was doing freelance, and like this is just true when you're doing freelance in general, like your whole life is freelance because you're always trying to find the next project. So for this, I have my first like real paying job that's like structured and stuff. I have a 40-hour work week. Like I'm going to work 9 to 5 every day. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm going to have a schedule. But what would happen is that when my day would start, it would be 5 p.m. in Sweden and they'd be out for the day. So I'd start my day, have all these questions, all these things I would need from people, and I wouldn't hear from them until like literally like that night. Yeah, so just start earlier. So starting early, having a lot of like lists for things, and just I know that if I have too much going on, I will forget something. Some ball will get dropped somewhere. So whenever anything happens, any like talks about future projects or any sort of like any talks of something happening in the future, I make a note of it somewhere and I put it in my calendar. Usually I put it in my calendar and just say like, okay, like, hey, on this day this has to happen, or just like reminder, do this in the future. Just always never trust. I don't trust myself enough to like keep track of stuff just in my brain, so I always put it somewhere. You know.
My trick has been the last few months is I'll write everything. I'll use my calendar as a to-do list, and so what I do is every single little task, it's going to take at least 15 minutes. So never smaller than 15 minutes. And so when I quickly want to write something down, I'll just write like a half an hour meeting for myself on like Saturday morning. Right.
Yeah.
And then what I do is when I plan my week, I just drag those time blocks on the calendar, and that helps with, because I'm like you, I'm very optimistic with my time. But then when I see all these little squares on the calendar, I'll be like, looks like I can't do all this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's not possible. Well, I guess I'm either cutting some stuff or moving it over. And it's usually most of the time you can, that's what prioritizing is, right? You pick what's the absolute highest priority. And so, for example, the last 3 months, I was like, you know what? I'm making learning how to read Chinese priority. I booked 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, private Chinese lessons. And then I'm like, I'm going to work around that. I'm going to pay for it and commit for the next 3 months. And I did that for 3 months. And there's times where I want to do some other stuff. And I'm like, well, I just can't because I've committed to these 4 hour blocks.
Time. Dude, that's a big one for me, especially coming from the freelance world and being like, I'm very self-sufficient and I like having a certain amount of like agency in my life. So I like to be the one to make decisions for myself. And that's one thing I had to learn was like, there's the things that I want to do right away, and there's the things my boss wants me to do right away, and those things have priority. The things my stuff usually can wait, and it's like knowing like, okay, like if one thing I'll do if I have a bunch, because I always have like a million projects going on for work, and a lot of prioritizing and a lot of like I get to like the end of my day, I look at what I have to do and I go, okay, every single day I have so much stuff I have to move around because I'm again like super optimistic with my time. I think I can hit it all, and there's just not as many hours in the day as I need. So I always have to move stuff around, and I look at all the things I have to do. It's usually 5 or 6 things, and I go, okay, if I don't do this thing, what bad thing will happen? If I don't do this thing, what bad thing will happen? And I just go down the list of like what realistically will be the outcome if I don't do this thing right now, and that is a very powerful motivator because most things can wait. There's like usually 1 or 2 things that like have to get done for certain reasons here, for whatever reason. So prioritizing on a list is number one. I've definitely gotten too carried away with lists. Like my girlfriend and I will do like Zoom dates sometimes, and there's some stuff I want to talk about, so I'll like make a list of stuff that I want to like talk to her about. But it's gotten to the point where I have like an agenda for date night, and like that's not fun for anyone. So it's like
you know what? I think it's fine. I
do too, Jamie. I think it's great.
Fine.
But sometimes it can be like, all right, like I'll go down the list and we'll like talk about something, and then I'm like, cool. And then she'll hear me like hit the like backspace to like delete the thing off the list, and she's like, are you checking off the list? And I'm like, yep, checking off the list. And it's like, it's not the healthiest thing to do.
No.
But stuff gets done.
You care about her. You care about her enough that you genuinely want to know about these things in her life.
Thank you.
Write that crap down.
I'm trying to check all the boxes, man. I'm not trying to forget some stuff. I'm trying to be cognizant and be aware, and I'm just trying to be efficient.
Yeah, like I always put the date nights in my calendar, and then Zoe was always like, "Oh, it's in your calendar," because it's back when I was a manager too. Like it was, oh my god, all I did was meetings.
Yeah, you got
at least 6 hours a day, sometimes 7 hours worth of meetings, and so it's like, so I'd write like, hang out with Zoe this time, and because the previous company was like. Everyone was on a different time zone. They hired 100 people in like 30 different countries. And so the whole company was on different time zones. So I had to put stuff in my calendar because then otherwise somebody in like South America might just be like, oh, let me just try to get a meeting with James at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, my time. And then it just makes it easy to see if it's just a big block. Like,
that's just like organization 101. Just like getting it all laid out, getting it all, everything's put where it needs to be, like 100%.
So how long have you been at Strandberg now? A couple years?
A year, just over a year now. It was a year in February. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good setup. Now that's like the perfect gig for you because it's
insane.
nerdiest kind of guitars for the nerdiest kind of guitar players.
And dude, literally like so. I don't know how much more time we have, but I can talk about how I
we got
started
time.
with Strandberg. Okay, dude, it's wild. Like the way the Strandberg thing happened was, I've been playing their guitars since like 2016. A bunch of my favorite bands, a bunch of my favorite players play them, and they're super eye-catching guitar. They're super eye-catching guitars. They're headless, multi-scale. Look at this. There's no headstock in this guitar. What? They're super ergonomic. The back of the neck is called the Intern. It's this like asymmetric. It's kind of hard to see, but like there's like a diagonal plane
it's like
to
the
it.
perfect engineer guitar.
It's literally it's engineered for your body. It comes from a very the founder Ola Strandberg. He has like an engineering background, so he like
of course he does.
Design a guitar from the ground up. Yeah, because like guitars are the worst. Guitars were not made for the human body. Strandbergs were made for it's like totally rethought the guitar. So they're very like eye catching. They're just cool. I just love them, and it was like my dream guitar for so long. And I got to go to my first NAMM through Gear Gods when I was a senior in college, and went right to the Strandberg booth, played a multi-scale. They're insane, and they weigh like 4 pounds. They're like super light. They're like everything is considered. They're incredible. They're like really works of art, and so I'm just like a fan at the core. And I got to play one. I ordered one from the custom shop in Sweden when that was still going, like a custom built one. I have it back there, and so I was just a fan of them for a long time, and so then I guess. Yeah, just probably 2020, I think. I was doing Gear Gods full time and like freelance full time. Actually, I had when the pandemic hit it was like May of 2020. I actually ended up getting furloughed from Gear Gods because they just couldn't afford to keep me and a few other people.
All the ad rates tanked. I was working in an ad company at the time, and all the ad rates tanked everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, and everyone's just getting laid off, and I was lucky because it was just it was furlough, so it was like the intent was to hire me back at some point, but like I still got to pay rent, so then I like really went hard on freelancing and just took every single project I could, and it was like full freelance, still doing Gear Gods, but it was more of a project by project kind of basis, and one day I got an email from Ed Yoon, who is the CFO in USA operations for Strandberg. Him and Ola Strandberg are kind of the two main guys behind the scenes. And Ed emailed me because they were going to have this like live stream video event called StrandCon, which is kind of like Strandberg's version of NAMM, but it was all going to be virtual. Have artists and players from all around the world. Have like a multi-day workshop, like Ask Tech, like all kinds, just really cool stuff, all online. And they needed someone to help come run videos in Riverside, which is like an hour south of where we are in Glendale. And I was like, yeah, this is okay, cool. And I think they heard about me through Gear Gods and through Abasi Concepts and through Guitar Messenger, and just because I was a guy doing video stuff and my name was out there. So I went and did that, and it was awesome. It was like a 4-day event, and I helped run the live stream and just got met all the guys at Riverside and everyone. It was like the US team for Strandberg, so the team in Riverside, and everyone was super nice, really friendly. And they actually gave me a guitar as part of my payment, which like I told them what I was going to charge them. They're like, okay, that's cool, we can pay you that. And then on top of that, they're like, we're gonna give you a guitar for this. And I was like, all right, I have it over there too, another guitar. So
dude, that's the thing with like you, Trey, Glenn,
the gear.
Oh my god, dude, Glenn, like basically, he's like, "Yo, can you hold some of this gear for me for like a month?"
I know, dude.
And then
you should see our
pandemic
house. It's ridiculous.
It gave me like I had like $5,000 worth of guitar amps. It's just like laying around,
just sitting around.
It's just your guys' hand-me-downs, basically.
Yeah, dude, it's wild. It's especially like working with companies that like make physical products for musicians. Like, there's always just gear. I mean, yeah, our house is just, we have like easily over 50 guitars in this house.
By the way, I met a guy who has because I'm meeting all the manufacturing people out here. So I met a guy who does speakers and is looking. We should talk after because I got a guy who has like his family has connections in Shenzhen, and they manufacture speakers. Like
wow,
all of like tons and tons and tons of speakers, and
right
so
on,
he has he has one prototype made that's like all finished of a, like a monitor, a PA monitor, but wireless.
Oh, cool. Like a
Yeah.
Bluetooth sort of situation.
No, yeah, like, but it's like high quality pro audio, no wires kind of setup. I was like, oh,
Sick.
yeah. He's like, yeah, actually, like, you just had to figure out how to install the batteries. Like, and I figured that out, and
No,
he's like, I can do all the manufacturing. He's like, but I just don't have any sales or marketing or anything, so it's just kind of sitting there, ready to get sold. I'm like, oh, but now I got like a guy in the speaker industry. So if you know someone who needs some speaker stuff,
Some wireless speakers. Nice.
some
Dude,
like
it's good.
speaker manufacturing stuff, let me know, because I'm sure one of my buddies knows somebody
You know
who'll need a
someone.
bunch of who needs some sort of like if you ever bump into someone who needs like 100,000 speakers manufactured. I was like, oh, I got the guy.
That's literally, Jamie, what you just said, that's literally how the whole thing works. Like, you just like, you focus on your field, you become good in it, and you become a likable person, and then people mention your name when they need someone who does whatever you do. And that's literally that's the whole thing. It's wild.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to become like your friend in Asia. That's my big one too.
You are.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm trying to be like, if you bump into someone, it's like, oh man, if only we knew somebody who like lived in Asia, because like this sounds like it's completely different than everything you know. And then Isaac can be like, oh, I got a guy who lives in Asia, knows everything about heavy metal, and like knows how to do all this.
Sick
Like,
podcast. Yeah.
really? Yeah, it's like, really? Can he, like, how's his English? Oh, his English is perfect. He's actually Canadian. It's like, why is he in Asia?
But-
It's like, I don't know. He just likes it.
But
there.
can he do stand up? Yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
Dude,
It's like,
that's awesome. That's literally like, dude, like it's funny how, again, like, following your passions, I think really is it really pays off, because like I've gotten tons of opportunities just through I have this YouTube channel called Riffified, where I play like death metal guitar, like tech death guitar, along to just clips, like random video clips. I was on the Your Mom's House podcast with Tom Segura and Christina P, and just like I get to talk to Eric Andre, like I've done like.
Wait, you were on their podcast?
Well, they showed my video and then reacted to it. I literally, one second, I have a clip. Let me see if it'll play.
Isaac Stolzer-Gary.
I have Tom Segura saying my name. My name passed through his lips. And
Oh, and you just took the audio clip, and now you have,
Isaac Stolzer-Gary.
there it is.
do you have
Yeah,
like
it's-
one of those stream decks, or you
I
just
sure do, baby. Pull it up. Yeah, there it is. You got to get one, dude. Especially for like podcasts and streaming. It's so sick. You can do anything with it. It's like,
I
It's
know.
wild.
It's
It's like $100. It's easy.
I know. I hate
Also,
spending money.
Trey probably has like 3 free ones lying around. He can just send one to you. Just hit up
But
your
the
friend.
amount of money it would cost to ship it, it's not.
Oh yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trey
can do?
definitely has at least 3 of those links.
He has the big version of this one, and I think he has like a smaller one too. And yeah.
Did you get yours from Trey? Is that a Trey hand-me-down?
I think he got this for me for my birthday one year.
Okay, cool.
It was a gift, but it was like, but it was from him. Yeah.
It was in the
What do you
box. It wasn't.
Yeah. It wasn't like.
So it's your birthday today. Oh,
He wasn't like scrubbing out like property of Trey on. He wasn't like brand spanking new. But anyway, so yeah. So I back to the Strandberg thing. Like they brought me on for this one gig. They liked what I did. And then they reached out to hire me full time a few months later, and actually they wanted to hire me for like a customer service kind of position, and I actually turned them down the first time because I was broke doing freelance, but I was super happy. I loved it, and I was like, and I really like did the math, and I was like, you know what, like, if I take this job, like, it'll be cool. But they also wanted me to be in the office, like go to Riverside, and it's like an hour commute for me each way. And I liked being remote. I just liked my own. I liked what I had going, and it was enough for me to be like to turn them down. And the timing wasn't great. And I remember like after I turned them down that first time, I was like, Isaac, what did you do? You turned down a job offer from they came to you, your favorite guitar company. They love you. Like, what are you doing? And then probably like 2 months after that opportunity came up, they reached out again to me with a position offer for my current job, doing community manager is my title. So just everything with the community, online marketing, social media, artist relations, and so. But the funny, and so I accepted that job in the end. But the funny thing was, I think the reason they hired me, I mean, obviously, like I knew my stuff when it came to video. I knew streaming, and I was easy to work with. I was super, I think they got a good impression of me. But I think the thing that really made them consider me was that when, so it was a 2-day streaming event, this StrandCon, this one-off event. And when it was all over, it was just me and then Ed, the head guy there. It was just the two of us in their big warehouse, and I was just like wrapping up for the day. I was packing up the cameras, packing up lights and stuff. And for me, I had 2 cameras and my laptop and like some lights. Like that was my contribution, like tech wise, was pretty minimal. So I packed it all up. But then they had some lights that they had some microphones, some speakers that they had. It was like their property, and I was packing that up too. And I was just like tearing down everything. I was wrapping cables. I was like making it pretty, just like really cleaning up everything and doing work that I probably shouldn't have been doing. Like I didn't need to like clean up their stuff, but I did because I wanted to just wanted it to be nice. Mm-hmm. And then Ed came in like after I was all done. I was like about to go home. It was super late at night, multi-day thing. I was super tired, and he kind of looks around and he's like, oh, you cleaned up. And I was like, yeah, I did. And I literally think that moment, him seeing that I put in the extra work, that's why they hired me.
Yeah,
I just cleaned up because I'm like, you just clean up. Like that's what you do. That's it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. No. 1,000%. Let's end on that note. That is, like, yeah. Like even when I was engineering manager, it was like the ones who did things like just made sure that it worked on an iPad, not just desktop full screen or iPhone. It's like, thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
and it takes 2 seconds, and I think people they want to be compensated for everything, but there's also like your reputation and like how people view you in a work context, and like it really doesn't take that much extra work. It just takes a little bit of foresight and a little bit of like, how can I make everyone's lives easier?
It doesn't even take extra time because you were already there.
Exactly. It was for me. That was part of the whole cleanup, was just like cleaning up everything. Like I'm gonna clean it up. Like I want to do good. I'm not gonna leave it looking crappy. Like I'm gonna just make it nice.
Yeah, like there's times where I was doing like extra work while I was working in the office as an engineer, but I still left at like 5 or 6.
It does not. It's not this crazy thing that like you're working extra and you're not gonna like. You're already there.
Just do it. It's fine. Yeah. So with that, thanks so much for your time, Isaac.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
I'll remember. Just do it. It's fine. That's the quote we can all take away from this.
All right.
So how can people follow you? What are some links? What are some stuff people can check out from you?
Yeah, you can follow me. I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok at Isaac Stolzer-Gary, ISAAC STOLZERGARY. Just my name, Isaac Stolzer-Gary. Riffified is my YouTube channel. If you like metal and memes, that's RIFFIFIED, Riffified. And then Strandberg Guitars. We're on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. I do have our artist relations and social media stuff. So like and subscribe. I'm sure there's links around here somewhere. Like and subscribe, baby.
Okay,
man.
Have a great day. See y'all later.
Thanks, man.